You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
And we are back. I said that break would be short, and I think it was pretty short. Here we are getting ready for round 4 of the ETS Season 6 Weekly number 5. And we've got more Argenport versus Stone Scar here, but again, another little different flavors on both sides. So let's break that down. And here to help me break it down, of course, is LocoPojo.
Yeah, Arshenport mid-range versus Stone Scar, pretty straightforward lists. Ilya is running the Jack's Knife sort of aggressive strategy. Only 2 Jack's Knives in here, but for the most part, it goes all the way up to 4, and it only has 1 4-drop, and that is Bandit Queen. Combined with Cinder Yeti and Champion of Chaos, the combination of Overwhelm and Quick Draw can be pretty devastating, so we'll see if Cinder Yeti's extra card draw can sort of help the deck out a little bit, or if the addition of Jack's Knife is going to make it a bit more aggressive. I'm not sure. We certainly have, at the same time, Argenport mid-range running Talon of Nostrix in the 2 slot, which I really do like. And we have basically Auric Broker and Impending Doom. I would slot this more as an aggro list, just since there's only 1 4 and 1 5, but sort of viewer's choice on that one.
Yeah, I would go with this is solidly mid-range. If you're playing 12 4-drops, that's pretty mid-rangey, and how dense it is at 3. It's not getting out that fast. It's just playing high-quality cards. But I do like this kind of variety of how Argenport's approaching what it's doing, not only at 2, but at other parts of the curve, as we see here, you alluded to. 2 Talon Nostrix, where before we saw a different Argenport mid-range list, it was playing, a bunch of those Tranquil Scholars at the 2-drop spot, and that had its own flavor and its own impact. So everybody's going to have little different ways to show off their Tav rods. Notably, this Argenport mid-range deck, all the Copperhall Bailiffs are in the sideboard. We've seen them exclusively as a main board option in almost every other Argenport list. But here it's just Enforcer, Bart, and Interrogator. That's the 3-drop suite in the main deck. Bailiffs relegated to the side. And
yeah, that serves you well if you're expecting control. Against Ilya, you might as well have him in the main. So
yeah.
For here, I think that Ilya might be favored for the first round, but Bloodletter and Lethrai are just so good against aggro that I'm not actually sure camat0 even cares about the Copperhall Bailiffs. He's got a lot of good aggression. He's not particularly worried about Stone Scar's aggression, and Tavrod will certainly win out the late game, whereas Ilya's card advantage comes solely in the form of Cinder Yeti.
Yeah, I think I can agree that camat0 is already decently well prepared for aggressive-ish lists because of the Talon and Annihilates and other early stuff. So it's reasonable that they just put the Bailiffs in the side to be better prepared for control matchups like Chalice or something like that. But we'll still see. I mean, Ilya's deck is just fast and furious, and that the extra Cinder Yeti, I think that's such an awesome tool for this style of deck, just because it can exhaust units and push through damage. It has warp, so it's great in the mid to late game where that exhaust is still really important in pushing through damage because it's pseudo removal for a turn. And because its own body has overwhelm, it pairs really, really well with Rapid Shot as a way to push through damage as well. So all it's doing is pushing damage while providing a body as we see this match get underway.
So we have Diplomatic Seal into Argenport Instigator. camat0 has set up his double green for Valkyrie Enforcer and has the double purple for Lethrai Falchion as well. That Instigator was a very good pickup for him. Cinder Yeti is going to exhaust it, but he does at least have some board presence now, so he's going to be able to defend himself for a little bit and take a little less damage while he sets up for Lethrai.
Yeah, the sweet thing there was that Cinder Yeti wasn't out of hand. That got warped in, so IlyaK just getting that kind of free value. It's good stuff. And yeah, camat0 now has to decide, so you want to just play out the 3/3 flyer here, silence something, or use a slay on one of these units. But no, we can see the extra body, and the Argenport Instigator gets held back.
Yeah, it's an interesting push. I like that he silenced the Instigator. It's kind of interesting silencing your opponent's Instigator when you also have an Instigator. It suggests that your Instigators are working against you a little bit, but at the same time, we have more exhausts off the Cinder Yetis. Ilya is actually getting a lot of push out of that, and camat0 might need to seriously consider just blocking.
Yep, we see the block come out, the ping comes down, and camat0 might just jump on the Falchion here. Ilya has 2 Annihilates in the main deck as removal, so nothing else to deal with this 7/4.
And Kamato's just erased the damage completely from Ilya's initial forays. Like we see, he's back at 25. Ilya's down to 17. He now has to be in like a double block situation. And with the Slays and the Varus favors, that's a tricky bit to be in. Ilya did not draw into the power he needs to get the champions going. He can lay down some smaller units. He has torches available, so he can set up a single block, but nothing looks particularly good here.
Yeah, so he's got a few options here. Again, like you said, just play a unit, hold up torch is probably the safest line. You could also go with like the scepter to push through a little bit more damage and still have 2 units back. The problem is if Camat0 has any removal, you're not going to be able to block this unit again. And yeah, instead Ilya is just going to try and race this 7-4 lifesteal, deciding, you know what, Camat0's got something to push through this 7-4. Might as well not try and set up the block yet.
All right, so yeah, Avara's favorite there, plus a Slay on the Instigator. That's another point of damage and more life stolen from his Instigator. So, like at this point, the Instigator has just stolen another 9 life. Camat0 is now above 25, and Ilya is in a lot of trouble.
Yep, but finds a fire source there. So these Champions of Chaos do have 4 strength available, but does not want to play it out. Instead goes wide with the 2-drop and the 1-drop, but Camat0 finds the Annihilate and also just gets to use Slay there anyways to not even give Ilya a chance to do any kind of blocking. Although, honestly, I would have ace-faced because Annihilate would have blown out the triple block anyways. I'm a little surprised to see Slay come out like that.
Bad. Camat0 gets to attack in if he wants to. Oh, he's staying back.
The attack was lethal, so that's... Ilya had a torch represented there, right? Ilya still had a power up, so he didn't want to.
A torch represented? Like, I don't know. I'm wondering if he should have attacked there. Valkyrie Enforcer is going to knock the Champion of Chaos out, and that'll be pretty good for just making sure that Champion of Chaos is not going to have that deadly effect. It's not going to be able to block the Argenport Instigator. From there, he can attack in, do the same thing with the Instigator that he was planning to last turn. The double block plus torch is an issue, but if it's just the Annihilate there...
Yeah, this is an interesting line from Camat0, because Camat0 sniffed out the torch last turn via the Slay, and then opted to not trade Argenport Instigator with the torch and the Blood Beetle, but decided to this turn, even though you could have just annihilated the Blood Beetle and forced Ilya to trade off the Champion of Chaos instead.
Annihilate works on the Rakano Outlaw here, but on no other targets. He's taking quite a bit of damage, but he's at 34, so I think he's pretty comfy just laying down some flyers and going for it.
Yep, this 3/3 flyer is a 2-turn clock, so IlyaK has to find an answer to it. He's got a number. Suffocates and Torches and Annihilates all are in the deck, but it's not like Ilya is going to win this race, as you said. Camat0 has 29 health.
So another 4, 5, 6, 7, a rapid shot. That's the end of it, however, the last card that he can play. Yeah. And a bit more damage there, but the lifesteal just gets him so far ahead that Argenport Instigator living answers Stone Scar quite well.
Yep, just way too much life gained by that Lethrai Falchion on the Instigator and Camat0. Skies are clear, hands clear from Ilya, and 3 damage finishes it off.
Yep. Pretty solid game. Camat0 seals that one up and puts himself in very good position to win this round, considering he's going to still have the Argenport stuff. He gets to cycle in the Copperhall Bailiffs if he so chooses, and he can continue to just aggress with just everything that he's got. I think he's very well set up against aggro.
Yeah, takes game 1 and gets to bring in those Bailiffs game 2. And some protects or sabotages if he so desires. I don't know how much of that's actually going to get brought in, just because you're not against Stone Scar that's running like, actual burn like Obliterate. So I'm not sure if even the protects are going to come in here, but we'll see as Camat0 adjusts his game plan. On Ilya's side, I'm guessing the extra Annihilates are coming in, and maybe the Soulfire Drakes to try and fly over all this junk on the ground.
Yeah, it's quite possible that Ilya wants to get a little bit of extra push in The main thing that he really needs to be able to deal with is have direct responses to the Lithrai Falchion and the Bloodletters. If he can kill
Yep.
the units that have those on them, then Stone Scar is typically just the faster deck, so it is capable of actually pushing through for the extra bit of damage. But you really have to conserve that removal for those specific answers, and the only removal that he really has to stop a Lithrai Falchion is Annihilate.
Yeah, but we see him also bring in Sabotage to help try and grab those Falchions and Bloodletters out of hand before they ever get on the board and get out of hand there, right? So we'll see if that plan plays out to Ilya's favor. He's certainly hoping it does, so he can get to a game 3 in this match as it goes underway here.
Yeah, it's a good route aggressively. The main problem is that it slows his deck down, and the slower his deck gets, the more vulnerable he is to Tavrod at the top. He does not have an answer to that card at all. So, well, maybe Champion of Chaos, but pretty unlikely that that's going to be too meaningful with the Valkyrie Enforcers and the Slays.
Yeah, but as we saw in the last game, it doesn't matter how fast your start is. If they get that lifesteal swing, your game's over. So it's a thing where you kind of just need to play the Sabotage to make sure you have that clean answer before they connect. And we see the turn 1 Sabotage come out from Ilya. A lot of choices. There was a Bloodletter, a Talon, a Vera's Favor, but takes the Annihilate because that's the cleanest answer to the Instigator that Ilya has in hand.
Bloodletter in means that he is going to be vulnerable to a pretty big damage swing later on, but camat0 doesn't have units right now, so it's pretty safe to sort of take the removal and just establish a board, try to rush the opponent down before anything good happens.
All camat0 has as a unit in hand is Tavrod. He kept a hand of basically all spells and weapons, and Ilya could figure that out via the Sabotage, and that was another reason why Bloodletter got left in there. So camat0 can Talon plus Vera's Favor a unit here unless Ilya uses Torch, and we see him use that on the Talon.
Plan. So now we have 6 damage on field, and camat0 with the Vara's Favor. We will get Tavrod next turn, and that's going to be extremely good for him. Rapid Shot means that Tavrod might not be the thing he wants to play, but there's a Lithrai Falchion, there's a Bloodletter. Tavrod's going to be just pushing.
Yeah, and I do want to highlight that last turn. Ilya had the option to play Cinder Yeti last turn and didn't because Sabotage let him know that his opponent had Vera's Favor and Talon of Nostrix, right? So he just knew, I can just hold up Torch here and keep my units in play rather than playing out a Cinder Yeti and giving that the opportunity. And here we go, Rapid Shot lethal.
Yep, just enough. Tavrod was a bit too slow, so it definitely knocks him out.
Yeah, and it turns out even if he didn't have lethal, Rapid Shot could have taken out Tavrod, right? If all your units have 3 attack, Rapid Shot gives them 4 more and takes out the Tavrod. So Ilya going with this strategy I alluded to earlier in the stream where you can try and kill Tavrod or you can kill the person behind Tavrod, and Ilya executing that plan to perfection there.
Worked out very well for him. camat0 without a single unit under 5, only drew his Tavrods, which are, the only 5-drop that he has. So pretty rough setup there. He just had a lot of removal that didn't match up very well. His Vara's Favors gained him life, but didn't work against the 3/3s. The Talon of Nostrix was not very good against the 3/3s in the first place, and then it was even worse when it got torched. So pretty rough stuff, and unfortunately, he's going to have to find a better answer for the next round.
Well, yep, here we go. Game number 3. It looks to be underway. This is for all of the proverbial marbles as we're resolving mulligans now. And camat0's got some early plays this time around and good fixing with an Argenport Instigator, double Valkyrie Enforcer hand. And
really good, especially since Sabotage doesn't hit anything.
Yeah, and the other key thing here is that camat0 had the play. So Ilya gets the turn 1 Blood Beetle, but it doesn't get the ability to swing in and gain its wings.
We have an Instigator. The Blood Beetle is locked down. camat0's Talon of Nostrixes are particularly useful against the Blood Beetle due to their ability to just hit. And silencing the Instigator here, I think, is actually a pretty good plan. He's just mitigating the amount of damage, making sure that he has the best blocks available. Yeah,
and here we see the pre-combat Pyronate, but the A space from Ilya anyways has those Rapid Shots to back it up. And we see the double block from camat0 on one on each unit, and Ilya decides to preserve the beetle so that it takes out both of camat0's units.
Reinforcer here silences Blood Beetle or Pyro Knight. He really wants to hold on to this unit if he can. If it gets torched, that's really bad for him. That Bloodletter gives him a 6 health swing and then a really good defender later. So, well, with an attack like this, he's obviously not too worried. He's got the 7 damage there, and then more Bandit Queens are an issue, but he can just go Instigator into Bloodletter and be pretty happy with that.
Yep, camat0's starting hand was good. The mid early draws weren't that great, just a lot of power in a row, but here we go. The Bloodletter into Argenport Instigator gains the quick 6 life off of Valkyrie Enforcer, gets the Instigator down here, and then we're going to see another A space from Ilya with that rapid shot in hand.
Shot kills another Instigator. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, so pushing pretty hard. At this point, camat0 has to kind of sit tight with his 6/6s, which isn't great, since if Ilya draws power, he has an active Pyro Knight. Auric Runehammer, however, solves that problem pretty well.
Yeah, Runehammer's a big draw here. It gets to take out that Pyro Knight before it can activate and potentially threaten to take out another unit. So Ilya has to draw something here that makes a good A space, but instead just draws the power, shows it, and then hits A space. Not the tightest play there from Ilya, making this decision much easier for camat0. Doesn't get a second victim out of the hammer, but effectively does because he gets to eat the Bandit Queen with Valkyrie Enforcer.
Bandit Queen as opposed to the Blood Beetle, just keeping his life total as high as possible. Ilya now has some outs here where if camat0 goes to ground game and he knocks out the Valkyrie Enforcer, he has a better flying unit, but that's way, way ahead in the future, and in the right now, camat0's in very good shape.
Yeah, camat0 can technically, if nothing changes, just win this race by swinging with the 6/6 flyer. But he's got to decide if he wants to do that, as, you know, Ilya is in top deck mode, and so is he. Nothing in hand for camat0, just power, and decides to swing in with the Enforcer. Ilya top decks the Sabotage, so basically a blank there.
Not holding on to that. We got another 6 here, and since Rapid Shot doesn't save, camat0's attack is correct here. He just gets to swing in. Ilya needs to find a flyer, and I don't think he has one that's just naturally flying.
But finds a Cinder Yeti to warp in. But yeah, has to hold back the Beetle. Has a Pyro Knight, though. But, ooh, Auric Runehammer is lethal.
So with the Beetle gone, the 6 attack actually works out quite well for camat0. Good aggressive play, and I believe that knocks Ilya off the list.
Yeah, it's always tricky to find where you can turn it around against Stone Scar, but without the threats of something like Obliterate, you're really just banking on Ilya. Either you're just going to sit there and try and block and hope they don't draw their Annihilates, or they're going to draw Queen and kill you. So really good job by camat0 finding the spot to start swinging, and gets rewarded with a timely Runehammer just when Ilya was ready to chump block.
Yeah, very strong play from both players. camat0's choice of aggression there was a really interesting tactic that I think worked out very well for him. So, yeah, just very solid play.
Yeah, so there we go. That was the 3-0 bracket. So camat0 moves to 4-0. Ilya still 3-1, very much alive for top 8 as we get ready for the next round of Eternal coverage. I don't believe we have... looks like we do have a backup lined up, so we're working on that. All right, we're not 100% sure.
We're not 100% sure, but we will be trying to jump into Overmaster versus BruisedByGod, who are playing some new stuff as well. We've got a lot of cool new decks out there, and I'm pretty excited to see what ends up happening. All right, so we're going to jump into a view of BruisedByGod, and give us a moment while we figure that out, but should be pretty good to go. I think overall, solid aggro is not necessarily the best plan against the Minotaur Bartolo decks that we've been seeing. We've just got too much lifesteal on the board, and that's doing really, really well against those decks. So it's kind of knocking Stone Scar out of a strong position in the tournaments. I'm curious to see if that will create a change in the meta as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, with the addition of Crimson Firewall, these more mid-rangey but still aggressive fire decks, we could see a rise to by bringing in Groundbreaker as another answer, as you alluded to earlier. We've seen Groundbreaker do work before when there becomes too much life gain in the meta for fire decks to deal with. And I'd be interested to see if some of these fire decks go back to the drawing board and try and get Groundbreaker in there.
Matchup of BruisedByGod's Recano with a little bit of Shadow, and BruisedByGod's Praxis versus Overmaster's Recano with a little bit of Shadow. BruisedByGod is currently sitting on just a single 1/3. He's taken a bit of damage from a Valkyrie Enforcer, but his plays from here on out look pretty good. He's got Friendly Wisp into Shatterglass Mage. He has Predatory Carnosaurs, which are just going to not only set up his board very well, but also defend him. And he's still got an active Xenon Obelisk that's going to get even bigger as time goes on.
All right, and I'm going in on Overmaster's end, and I think that's what we'll be streaming from. And, okay, that's a big Carnosaur. But Valkyrie Enforcer coming in here. Overmaster only has 5 power available, but that's enough to cast Harsh Will if they want to here. They also have a Slay, a Cudgel from an earlier Maiden. So Armory doing Armory things. Also a buffed up Roomhammer. Yeah, we see the Slay come out, and Overmaster just trying to keep this board under control. Oh, BruisedByGod even has an Obelisk in play. I see. Okay.
Yeah, that Cudgel is pretty unfortunate here since BruisedByGod did top deck a second Carnosaur. So knocking out yet another Valkyrie means that he's in a much more stable position. He is getting a little low on health. 14 is not an ideal amount, but as long as he doesn't run into Icarias or anything too crazy, I think he's in very good position. 7/7 is about the point where Armory decks start to have problems, and like if you're not running into better answers, then it's going to get a little tough.
So now this Xenon Obelisk can do a lot of work in raising the quality of your threats as a time deck. Here we see a Shatterglass Mage come down and destroy nothing, but it does draw 2 cards for BruisedByGod, gets him closer to that Obelisk buff as Auric Runehammer comes down and takes care of the Shatterglass Mage.
The second Shatterglass Mage, and not only that, he's holding on to 3 more Friendly Wisps, so he can do this whole thing again, draw another 2 cards, and this time knock out a weapon. So it's a pretty rough deal. He actually opts instead to go for 2 Friendly Wisps and a Dawnwalker. Just pick up 4 cards. Heart of the Vault gets drawn off the top, so he doesn't get the warp, but beyond that, like that's just really disgusting in terms of overall card quality and advantage.
Did BruisedByGod miss on power there, or was he only on 6 last turn? Because he's still only on 7.
I think he missed his power. He's got the Heart of the Vault available.
All gas.
Or in his hand. Man. I think he just missed playing it.
Yeah.
So now he's up to 3 3/3s. He's got the Shatterglass Mages available if he wants them. He has a Soulfire Drake to attack with if he chooses to, but like at this point, I think he's just looking for that Heart of the Vault value and just trying to draw even more cards.
Sure, yeah. Save that Soulfire Drake to take out a weapon with that charge speed. And yeah, this is just a nightmare for Overmaster. Found extra power last time. It was a Seed of Vengeance, so this Icarius is so far away from ever being cast. Draws a Tavrod here, which is a 5/7. Hey, that's a thing. But it looks like instead he gets to use Vanquish, but can't cast this Furnace Mage as it's only double fire, and Overmaster only has a single fire. Would love to be able to take out the Xenon Obelisk, but it's just not a possibility.
The Warp Heart of the Vault, and he's still holding onto a Friendly Wisp. I'm not even sure why at this point. Like, he can throw it out to draw more cards, but he's just got so much gas. Like, this is the Praxis Dreamland. So Overmaster has Tavrod. Tavrod is just not big as an 8/8 Vault is, so this is going to be pretty rough. He'll get the Reinarch. He has Xenon Initiation to kill the Tavrod if he needs it, but he doesn't need it.
Yeah, he's just still having all these. Overmaster knows this one's over. Tavrod's a big boy, but not big enough, not doing enough here. Just too much from the Praxis deck. So many threats, so much card draw, and it's a reason why Praxis has always had such a great matchup against Armory. Tavrod might be doing a little bit to help out that matchup, but not doing enough there as BruisedByGod gets ran over by a whole lot of Praxis. Or no, he's the one doing the Praxis, right? Yeah, Overmaster gets ran over. Getting all switched up by who's playing what. BruisedByGod switching up decks all the time.
Pretty strong setup. So yeah, that Praxis midrange just does really well against the Armory. It's a pretty good answer, I think, to Tavrod overall. Like, Heart of the Vault doesn't really super match up, neither does Carnosaur, but with Obelisks, you definitely get the value you're looking for.
All right, so so BruisedByGod takes that match. I believe that was game 3, so I'm guessing that was the 2-1 in the final match of that round. So we'll be taking a short break to get the next round set up, and we'll bring you round 5. Just a couple more rounds until we cut to top 8 and figure out who will reign supreme in this new Horus Trevor meta.
Folks.